A new CBS poll finds 76% of likely GOP primary voters, meanwhile, believe that the 37-count indictment against President Trump is politically motivated. The former president slamming the Biden Department of Justice while speaking in Georgia over the weekend campaigning.
They're lawless, partisan prosecutors, the prosecutors. Every time I fly over a blue state, I get a subpoena.
Well, I spoke with Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz yesterday discussing the indictment on Sunday Morning Futures. Here's what he said.
I think this is a much stronger indictment than the Bragg indictment, but it's the product of targeting. And the question is, can you prosecute somebody when you targeted that person and went through every hoop, dotted every I, crossed every T, gave lawyers immunity, violated the lawyer-client privilege in many respects, and then came up with something? I don't know how the courts will look at that. And Trump's lucky. He got the case tried in Palm Beach County, where he might get a more sympathetic jury, and he got a good judge.
Joining me right now is North Carolina Congressman, member of the House Veterans Affairs and the House Ways and Means Committee, Administration Committees as well. Greg Murphy is here. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. What is your reaction to the Trump indictment?
I think it's a very troubling time for our country, Maria. Alan Dershowitz and even former Attorney General Barr said there are some troubling things in these indictments. That said, where was the persecution of Bill Clinton when he perjured himself? Where was the persecution of Hillary Clinton when she destroyed 30,000 emails on a private server that had government secrets in them? You know, it's just an absolute double standard. We're not doing anything with Hunter Biden's laptop. The big guy has not been prosecuted. It is just a dual system of justice. You know, what happens with President Trump remains to be seen. Is there anything there? We will find out if there, as Attorney General Barr said, there are some troubling things. That said, we're going after one political party and the other one is getting off scot-free. It's an absolute dual system of justice.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible that on the very day we learn of an indictment of former President Trump, of course, unprecedented, former president getting arrested, we also learn of this document details from the FBI. The FBI document indicates that there was a $10 million payout to the Bidens, $5 million for Joe Biden when he was vice president, a sitting vice president, another $5 million for his son, Hunter Biden, from Burisma in Ukraine. I'd like to know what that payment was for. What were they doing to receive that money from a major company of Ukraine?
You know, Maria, we saw this when they were all going after Trump for the quid pro quo nonsense, is that Joe Biden literally said, unless you do this, there'll be no money coming. I mean, videography evidence of him showing that. He's corrupt. He's been here for 50 years, the absolute most corrupt president we've ever had. He pales in comparison sometimes to what Nixon did. And you look at this, but the DOJ, his FBI, are just marching over this and not doing anything about it, and not upholding the Constitution, and not upholding what should be an unbiased system of law.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do about it? You're an elected official in the House, and you've got the majority. There are calls which are growing to impeach Joe Biden. Are you going to do it?
Well, Maria, in my opinion, he's done two absolutely impeachable things. Number one, the absolute dereliction of duty in Afghanistan. He pushed us to leave out rather than through the measured approach to President Trump to push us out so he would have a political victory against the wishes of a military Joint Chiefs of Staff and his Secretary of Defense, who should have resigned in opposition. And number two is what has happened at our border. These are absolute derelictions of duty. And so to march through these other things, these needs need to be attended to first. The sad thing, Maria, and we've all spoken about this, if we impeach Biden, the Senate won't do anything. But even if they did, then we have Kamala, which is she's been an absolute disaster of a vice president. And we've seen her word salad repeatedly. So we have a choice between two absolute disasters.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, at the same time, isn't it going to be the same people running the country? I mean, can you sit there and tell me you think Joe Biden is making all these decisions on his own? It must be some group making the decisions. They're going to be still in charge, whether it's Joe or Kamala in the White House. Shouldn't the House be doing its job, even though you know it's going to fall flat in the Senate? I mean, you've got evidence here of influence peddling. They're accepting money, $10 million just in one transaction. James Comer identified another $10 million from China. Peter Schweitzer identified $31 million. How much is it? How much is the Biden family taking in? Is it 10, 20, $100 million? How much? And what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think this is really honestly going to rest up to Speaker McCarthy. The bill of impeachment has already been introduced. Why it's not proceeding with leadership, I think we had this debt ceiling thing to work with, a few other things that we need to work with. In my opinion, he does need to be impeached. And I'm not saying that because we're in a different party. I'm saying that because he's absolutely politically corrupt.
Yeah. Well, the House Judiciary Committee now says it wants answers from Attorney General Merrick Garland after the former FBI official told the committee there were, quote, several abnormalities during the Trump raid. A new op-ed in the Washington Post argues this: indicting an ex-president and leading candidate requires more than this. They write Trump's fate should be decided by voters. What about Merrick Garland, Congressman? What can you do here? Is he corrupt?
Well, in all these individuals, Maria, they're corrupt. I mean, Merrick Garland's been corrupt. I personally think the former NIH director, Fauci, was corrupt. The CDC director was corrupt. This entire administration has shown corruption at the top. I mean, we'll go back and we've talked many times about COVID. It turned into political science, not medical science. But it's hard to sweep out the entire administration unless we do it through the ballot box.
Just extraordinary. Congressman, thank you. We'll be watching all of that. Appreciate your time this morning. Greg Murphy is in D.C. this morning. Thank you, sir. Quick break.